Well, on to this story now. The latest KPMG CEO Outlook, a survey of over 1,300 CEOs globally, has found that not a single CEO in South Africa sees full-time remote working arrangements as a viable option for their company in the near future. While some industry leaders who were surveyed said their biggest concern heading into 2023 may be the possibility of a global recession, 71% say they are optimistic about the future. We are joined by Ignatius Sehoole, the CEO at KPMG South Africa. Ignatius, thank you very much, sir, for joining us this afternoon. I would like to start with my opening line there. A lot of people are working remotely now, working from home since COVID-19. This is an interesting survey this time around that you have released with CEOs saying that they want remote workers to return to the office, and they say at least in the next 3 years.
Yeah. Excuse me. Good afternoon to you and your listeners. That's the one kind of surprising part of the survey. As you correctly pointed out, 76% of the local CEOs surveyed expect to see employees back in the office full-time in a period of 3 years. Only about 24% see a hybrid, and 0% see fully remote working, as opposed to their global counterparts, who 7% see total remote working as the model of the future, and a much higher, I think about 38% looking at hybrid. But in South Africa, and you can understand why the CEOs in South Africa see it that way. If you look at the continued load shedding that's happening, and therefore people's network breaking down and not being able to be online all the time, and also the connection not being reliable. I think you've been in meetings and you've been trying to interview people remotely like you're doing now, where there's been technological gremlins creeping in. So those kind of things turn away people from pursuing the hybrid situation. Employees clearly would like to see that, but CEOs, the deteriorating infrastructure in the country is one of the things that's making them shy away from the hybrid situation.
I'm sure there's going to be a lot of debate around this one, as a lot of people feel that the hybrid form of work is actually working for most of them. But more good news from the KPMG CEO Outlook is that the CEOs are actually seeing that in the next 3 years their head count is going to increase, which means they actually plan to hire more people.
Yeah, that's right. In the long term, there's growth prospects. There's CEOs are seeing the growth. Importantly, they're seeing it organically, which talks to the point of hiring. And as you know, South Africa, we desperately need every single employment that can be created. With the expanded definition of 46% unemployed, you and I know that it's not sustainable. We're sitting on a ticking time bomb, and unless we do something as a country, this time bomb is going to explode in our face, and at that time it won't matter whether we have a job or not.
Let's talk about something else that is quite topical right now. A lot of people in the market are anticipating a global recession at some point in 2023. This survey also posed that question to the CEOs, but they are quite optimistic about 2023. In fact, they're already planning around mitigating the recessionary pressures that they are already seeing. They are already talking about ESG as well and using technology. What was their response in terms of the global economy and the concerns around a recession in the next year?
Yeah, there is a realization that at some point the recession is going to hit. But the consensus is it's not going to be long term. It's going to be short term. That's why there's an overall projection of growth. But also CEOs have already taken steps in, if you like, recession-proofing the organizations. Sadly for our economy, a lot of CEOs have already instituted hiring freeze. Some of them have already downsized or are thinking of downsize, but would be best suited then to expand as we get out of that recession, which they expect to be short-lived. And yes, ESG brings a whole lot of opportunities going forward for internal expansion and also external expansion, as it affects companies both from the internal point of view and from the external point of view. And stakeholders are increasingly demanding transparent reporting on ESG. And it's also interesting that CEOs also acknowledge that inclusion and diversity and equity has been going far too slow, and CEOs are looking for this to accelerate. By the way, that's not only locally, but locally and globally as well.
Ignatius Sehoole is the CEO at KPMG South Africa, giving us some of the highlights of the KPMG CEO Outlook survey, the report that was released, which actually takes a look into the 3-year vision of CEOs locally and globally. Ignatius, thank you very much for your time.